everybody to the last episode of Arcade Guts. For this last episode, I'm going to deal with a subject that people have been asking me about since the very first episode. Almost every single time I post a video, someone sends me a message saying, Michael V, I love your show, but there's no arcades near where I live. I'm going to teach you how to find arcades in almost any point in the United States. But first, I'm going to teach you how to just basically find an arcade. It's pretty simple, actually. Go online and go to Google or Yahoo or your search engine of choice and look up the arcades near you. Arcades like GameWorks, Tilt, Dave & Buster's, Julian's, Chuck E. Cheese. All of these locations are all across the United States, and you may be surprised to find out one may be within 20 minutes of you. Now, if you aren't going to be looking at arcades that are that large, then you really need to redefine what it is you're looking for. When I say I'm looking for an arcade, I'm looking for 1 or 2 arcade machines or more. And if we're looking at it from that point, I have a very simple formula that will help you find your local arcades. The formula goes like this. PW plus C minus S equals arcade. So, PW is people waiting. The C stands for change. And the S stands for sophistication. So the formula is wherever people are waiting and there is spare change and there is a lack of sophistication, you are likely to find an arcade.
As I attempt to give you insight onto the arcade industry, I went ahead and sat down to interview somebody who's been in the industry for some
My
time.
name's Victor Miller, General Manager of said arcade in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been in the family entertainment industry for the past 11 years. Starting out with laser tag centers, which obviously include arcades and that whole thing, all the way down to an actual just entertainment-based arcade itself, which we have now. I think the state of the arcade market in the 80s and 90s actually was more geared towards the actual video game genre as opposed to today, which is primarily driven by redemption and dispensing style games. Back then, it was all about lights and bells and whistles and, you know, the coolest things that were out, you know, and all the new genre of games, because things were just starting to come out. In relation to today, I think that it was more of a community thing. There was a lot more people at the arcade back then. It was a meeting place for our generation. You know, if you're, oh, let's go to the mall, you know, okay, well, I'll meet you up at, you know, Tilt or wherever you were going.
Okay, so one of the best places to find an arcade locally is your movie theater. So before we go into this one, let's check the formula. 1, are people waiting around? Absolutely. People are waiting for their tickets and people are waiting for their popcorn and drinks. And an arcade would serve as an excellent diversion to keep the kids out of the parents' hair while they're trying to make their decision. So number 2, is there change involved? Well, we have money exchange going on, so absolutely there's going to be change involved. So people may take their extra dollar or their extra quarter and go on over to the arcade inside this facility and play a couple games, entertain the kids before the movie. The third section, is there a lack of sophistication? Now remember, this isn't an insult to have a lack of sophistication. It just means that they are trying to target 100% of the human market. They aren't only looking at one group of people. In movies, man, you got movies that are artsy, like Where's the Wild Things Are, but then you also have movies like American Pie right off the bat. So you're attracting everybody, so there is that lack of sophistication. So absolutely, it equals an arcade. We have people waiting around plus spare change minus sophistication equals arcade. So let's go ahead on inside and show you where it is. Now the size and quality of arcades in movie theaters varies greatly. Sometimes it's just one machine, sometimes it's 5 or 6 machines like this particular location, or it can be a full dedicated arcade. The only downside of movie theater arcades is that they normally aren't really kept in the best condition because technicians aren't on hand. However, I will tell you, it's always a guaranteed bet. If there's a movie theater, chances are there's an arcade. So if you have a movie theater where you live and you haven't been able to find arcades, you just may be missing one of your best opportunities to play some great games.
what used to be, hey, let's go out and play, video games, let's go to the arcade, is now let's go to the arcade, but when they come here, like I said, they want to play skee ball, they want to get tickets, they want to try to win prizes. Our generation who now have kids, and those kids aren't really interested in playing video games because they can do that at home. They want to win prizes. They want to take home a stuffed bear, or they want to take home, some army men or some candy or whatever. So when the family goes out, they want to do something that they can do as a family. And unfortunately, video games is kind of it's not an antisocial thing, but it's kind of like a me and you kind of thing. You can't involve the entire group in it.
So Walmart is oftentimes confused as a place to go to buy food and clothing, but really Walmart's are just a place to go to play some arcade games. In the majority of Walmarts, you can find a family fun center or something along that lines, a kids zone, where they'll have a handful of arcade games, they'll have some claw machines, sometimes they'll even have some air hockey tables. As you can see, Walmart arcades aren't always the biggest things in the world, but they normally have a couple good games. Like this one has Fast and Furious Drift, which is a game that I love. It's also got Big Buck Hunter, and you guys know that I like that game too. So, you aren't going to find the greatest arcade games ever here, but you're going to find a couple of good gyms, and if you're just looking forward to play a couple games, Walmart's the place to go. Alright, so let's move on to our next location before they kick me out for filming.
Future arcade, I think, really lies in entertainment centers, arcades, and that kind of thing being modular. They have to be able to have something for everybody. For the hardcore gamer, the casual gamer, the family gamer, that kind of thing, it has to be there. And I think the one thing that's going to really make it viable is for it to be completely interactive. And also, I think what needs to happen is a change of technology. Something that we don't already have access to constantly, either at home or at the local arcade. If they come up with something really cool and kind of crazy, that's what's going to really kind of pick up the industry and make it viable again.
Now this is one of my biggest secrets when it comes to finding arcades, is actually laundromats. Yeah, that's right.